Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Reiki Healing Hope Speaks. And today we are going to be exploring soul contracts. Yes, soul contracts. Do we understand what that is? How do we recognize that in our own lives? And what do we do with it? And we're going to go into a channeling session to align our individual soul contracts. So if you're new to the community, welcome, babies. This is a place to explore. If you'd like some sleepy time help, you can head on over to Reiki Healing Hope ASMR, where I do the whisper healing sessions. This is the non-ASMR versions of what we talk about and what we explore. So if you would like to be a part of our mystical self-care community, you can head on over to the Patreon community. Also, there's an array of things, hint, that is being offered as well. For example, weekly moon cycle readings and intuitive readings found on Array Tarot. All of the Reiki Healing Hope ASMR sessions can be heard on Spotify and Apple Music. So if you just want to, sleep a little bit and fall asleep to it, as well as there is a podcast. I do have a podcast called Organize Your Purpose by Jet Lachey, which is me. And that is about entrepreneurship and really just bringing your greatest purpose into life. And baby, I got a lot of other stuff that I be doing, but we just going to do it the way that we do it right now. So let's jump into these soul contracts. So as we look at soul contracts, what they are understandings, agreements, but what it looks like in everyday life is they are relationships that we have to other people. And from a broad perspective, you could say movements or large groups of understanding. But let's break it down, to just what is a soul contract on the one-on-one level. Now, whenever you hear people talk about soulmates or twin flames, even what I talk about often, which is toxic loyalty in families, all of these things are examples of soul contracts playing out. Now, let me just give it to you from a broad perspective. There is an idea, and there's many ideas out here. So this is just one of many, and you should just always connect with whatever it is that you believe in. And I say this all the time. It is not my job to tell you what to believe in. That's your job. My job is simply to just facilitate a space where we all can coexist in this energy. I did my disclaimer. Now I'm going to say what I'm going to say. So it is a thought, a understanding perhaps, that as we incarnate into this experience, that the soul itself is infinite. The soul itself is part of the collective, and it's just little pieces of that, learning different things, understanding different things, exploring and evolving. And it incarnates into these experiences, so me, Jet, this particular experience to learn something, to grow. And when the soul first enters or looks at the experience of the life, it understands, these are the things that are going to come up. And it feels, or it agrees to, is a better way to word it. It agrees to, yes, these are the set of situations and circumstances that is needed for the soul as a whole to grow and expand in the direction that it wants to, or no, this isn't it. So it's an understanding that the life that you have is the one that your soul chose to have because you wanted. I wouldn't even say needed. You wanted, you co-created, you desired to have these set of circumstances to help you evolve. Now, this is when it gets tough. When you haven't had the best life, when you've had things that you've gone through, and then you sit and you look at your life and you might be at a place where you're like, especially if you're in a low place, you're like, I wouldn't have chose this. this is trash. This is not something that I want. But the interesting thing about it is as you continue to go further and further on your healing journey, you start to understand why you experienced everything. And every moment up to your present then becomes priceless, becomes valuable. There's certain situations and scenarios in which you are not in control in your life, but there's a lot of scenarios and situations in which you are in control in your life. For example, when you're a child, you're in a vulnerable state. That's when a lot of trauma happens to people and creates their reality of what they think is normal and isn't normal. And they might want to get away from a pattern, but it's so familiar to them, it feels like home, that they're constantly trying to resolve whatever that thing was before, but they're never going to be able to do it because the pattern was not for them. So the soul was like, fine, I'll be in this experience because I know that I will be able to rise above it. So everything that you've experienced, especially the tough things, were opportunities for the soul to rise above it. Now, I always like to offer this perspective. Take an action, If somebody is bullying you in your life, you speak up. It's not just like, I'm going to rise above it and turn the other cheek. You better snitch, okay? You better tell somebody, look, don't you treat me like that, or to establish boundaries and things like that, or to take whatever it is that you need to do to protect yourself and to move from a higher vibrational experience. But I often notice that when people come to me, clients, even those in the communities, when they come to me, they typically are coming from a place where they're not even bringing up old trauma. What they're talking about is they're interpreting just regular tough times as something very traumatic. And they have that relationship to those things because the soul is trying to evolve past it, but it doesn't understand just yet how to get there. And when you go through that healing journey, you force yourself to get to a place of understanding of like, this is how it should be. When you have to tell somebody no, you may have loved them so much, but they weren't acting the way that they should have been acting, for their best self. And you have to tell them no. That's how you get yourself there. So the soul contract, when it comes to relationships with people, is everything about you all incarnating into these experiences as a collective. There are souls that incarnate together, that they go across different lifetimes together. Now, very loosely, you can see that as your ancestors, your lineages, like your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, that kind of correlation. That as they transition on, some choose to stay and stick around to protect and to guide you because they're so close to the living experience. Also, there are groups of souls, like there might be someone who incarnates as a cousin and then incarnates as an important mentor and then incarnates as a parent and then incarnates as something else. You see this often when there are people that you feel like you are attracted to, whether that is in a positive or a negative way, and y'all just have these dynamics. And if you start going back in the soul's individual journeys together, you all were having those same dynamics across different lifetimes. So this is the idea of the soul contract specifically. Now let's talk about, well, what do we do with this? Well, this is an opportunity for you to look at all of the relationships that you have in your life. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship it is, but look at all of them. Which ones work? Which ones don't work? Which ones are easy? Like you met these people and it just was, as they say, smooth like butter, and the other ones that it's just like, no matter what you do, it's just like but yet you all are still pulled and drawn to each other. It's actually really funny how the concept of twin flames is very much so rooted in toxic loyalty. And the way that I often see it described is that, they might bring out the best in you or the worst in you, and it's kind of like this volatile thing. And the soul mate is perhaps something that is not as romantic, but a kind of general term of like someone that you come together and you're sharing an experience with and you're learning something. These are all just, labels and words to try to explain the different phenomena that are happening. So it's okay if you connect with one understanding, don't connect with the other one. But the soul contract is going in and making a decision. Hey, no matter what my soul said as I came into this experience, I'm making the decision to end it. So you might have had a difficult connection to a certain type of person in a work environment. And no matter where you go, a new person will pop up with that same energy until you sever those soul contract ties. And you do that by reprogramming your energy and becoming a new person. It is uncomfortable at first. It takes time and adjustment at first. Another example of the soul contracts are toxic loyalty that you have with your family. You might be the oldest, you might be the youngest, you might be the only child, you might be the middle child, you might be the black sheep, you might be the perfect one, you might be the smart one. And no matter who you grew into in life, you're still being placed in this role, in this dynamic. But maybe it doesn't serve you anymore. We can look at it from a larger perspective too, where we start talking about things like family secrets, where things that were not so nice happened and people keep it on a hush and they require you, even if it's not your personality, to remain silent in order to have that toxic loyalty. That's what happens energetically from the perspective of different sicknesses that are hereditary. So I'm not separating the fact that if you just have a genetic predisposition for something, it could happen. But oftentimes you have to have the genetic predisposition, you have to have the right environment, stress, the triggers, and things like that for it to come into being. And when you have entire groups of people vibrating at a certain level, okay, creating an environment that allows a certain illness to flourish, it then is passed on, not just by the genetics, but by the environment that activates it. These are some of the principal concepts of understanding energy healing and things like that, because these are the things that happen. When I see people who are on their health journey, and I mostly deal with psychosomatic issues in which emotional traumas then have manifested into physical issues over the life of the person. But what I notice in general is that there will be something like an easy example that I often use would be a thyroid issue. For example, if a person is told that they're not allowed to speak, be seen and not heard, and they spend their whole life with that mentality, they quiet their voice when they want to speak. When they start getting older and older, that's an energetic connection that you're doing, stopping yourself. Because you ever wanted to say something, share an idea, and it feels good? That's an energetic connection as well too. So by stopping yourself, you're recreating or you're creating an environment in your body that is unnatural. So you're stopping that energy flow. And that is stopping the regulatory system of the thyroid, which ultimately impacts the endocrine system as a whole. And so years of not just having that genetic predisposition, but having the right environment then creates long-term thyroid issues, which impacts your endocrine system and your hormone system as a whole. These are the things that the soul contracts. It kind of starts there and continues to go on. So now let's move on to this moment where it's like, okay, well, what do you want? You're being given an opportunity to co-create any life that you want. It doesn't matter where you've come from or what you've experienced or even what you're healing from now. Whatever direction you want to go in, you can grow in, but it's going to look very different. You can't be small, you can't be quiet, and you have to do the work. And that takes time building up that muscle of resilience of, hey, this is challenging, but I won't perceive it as a trauma. I'm going to see it as something constructive. So we're going to go into a channeling session. And I want you to breathe in and out here. Just relax into this. Exhale. Breathe again. Relax. Final breath. Relax. In this moment, start to wind back your clock. Go 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20. Just keep on going back and going back and going back until you get to about 1. And once you're at about 1, get to the point where you were born, the day that you were born. Just hover above the energy. Now go back inside the tummy, and for however long you needed to incubate, go back to the moment where the egg met. And even a little bit further back, before those moments, see yourself on a soul level, looking over your entire life, seeing it for exactly what it is. Why did you choose this life? What did you want from this life? Whatever answer comes up is the one you should trust, but also understand that answers that include punishment or just things that are lower in vibrational, it's never truly the answer. There's always something underneath that. So whatever that answer is, and it is an answer of a higher vibrational experience, start to understand every opportunity you had in your life to get to what your soul's goal was and why you had these connections with each person in your life in order to create an environment in which you could grow from those scenarios and those situations. Breathe into this. Relax into this. Instead of seeing these people as friends, family, colleagues, peers, lovers, whatever it is, see them simply as souls. And you two are working out something that you asked in this earth school to be able to work out. Almost like an obstacle course or a maze. What did you learn from each other? Not what did it look like in the physical, but what did it look like on the energetic? Why did you all have to be connected? No matter how they showed up in the physical, on the energetic level, there's always a place of peace. Why did you all connect? Now take inventory for each and every important or influential connection that you've had in your life. Breathe into it. Now start to see yourself. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to grow? What connections are you ready to let go? Release them. Simply open up your hands and release those connections. First, you say thank you for allowing me to learn. And then you let them go, freeing them to learn other things while you move in the direction that you want to move into. It's time to break those ties. So continue to breathe into this space here. Exhale. Each breath, bringing yourself further and further in your body, letting you know that you have the right to do so. It doesn't matter if these people are family, friends, lovers, co-workers, people that you feel like, you don't. If your soul is ready to move on, you're going to move on. Don't be so afraid of losing someone else that you lose yourself. Be okay with being by yourself, healing, whole, and stepping into this person you want to be, realigning these contracts. Because the soul contract, as you go into your next life, your next energy, if that is a part of your belief system, will be altered by the way you live your life now. What you do now impacts this life and whatever else is out there. So it is your responsibility to move in the direction that is best for you, your individual soul lineage, and also be a reflection to the collective of how to expand in a better way. Because when you expand, growing in those contracts, you not only free yourself, you free everyone else behind you, every person you've had a connection with as well. So breathing in. 2 more breaths. Final breath. Exhale and release. How do you feel? I hope you're feeling good. I really enjoyed talking about soul contracts. There's so much more we could talk about when it comes to this subject. But if you would like to jump into topics similar to this, continue to come back each and every week. If you would like even more support, you can definitely jump into the Patreon community where we have a lot of information. We've gone over a lot of different sessions, both from those who are practitioners and those who are just individual healers and interested in wanting to work on themselves, to all kinds of those that are walking along the journey and the path. There is support and community all around you. Make sure that you feel comfortable in who you are, but always know that you are co-creating your reality. Never give that power up. Well, I will see you next time. Thank you, babies.